Hello, everybody. Mark Schaftlein with you, and this is the Schaftlein Report. It's Tuesday's edition. We're broadcasting bi-coastal from Long Island, New York, and Irvine, California. Jeffrey, happy to see you on a Tuesday pre-Thanksgiving. How are you today?
I'm getting closer. Last week was Wednesday. Now I'm back on Tees. So next week I'll be back on Thursday.
Yeah. How are you today, Jeff?
Great.
Yeah, good.
Great. I'm waiting for Thanksgiving. I love the holiday. And as long as the Jets aren't playing, it's a good holiday.
Was that a brutal beat or what on that punt return? My goodness. I mean, and the New York media is just ripping the offense. I mean, 2 yards total offense. That's hard to believe.
Yeah, but Patriots have a good defense.
Yeah, they have a really good defense. But
two
yards,
their coach is Beelzebub.
2 yards in the second half. That's pretty bizarre. All right, let's get down into some politics here because we did have some news come out overnight. Republicans have won officially another House seat. David Vallado, Republican, wins California's 22nd district. That pushes the Republican lead, Jeffrey, to 220 to 213. Lauren Boebert's race, not officially called, but since she's got a 500 vote lead, her opponent's conceded. They're going through a formality of a recount. We've got that one already in the win column, and no one seems to be opposing that. So, Jeffrey, the numbers are edging up, slightly better than expected. Right. 220, 213. I know on election night, NBC News had said that their model had forecast 219, 213. So that's pretty good. I mean, they're only off by one right now.
Right.
And there's two races left to be called. One, you have a Republican leading by a considerable margin, but only 55% of the votes been counted. But it's the remaining vote outstanding tends to lean Republican. So I feel pretty good about that one flipping, which would give us 221. The other one, the Republican is leading by less than a couple hundred votes. So that literally could go either way. I mean, that's there. So it looks to me.
Well, remember, they both are California.
They are California, but the interesting thing is Republicans learned a lot in California. They learned how to ballot harvest. They learned how to do mail-in voting. You know, in a good chunk of California, Jeffrey, mail-in voting is the only way to vote, particularly in some of these more rural areas. So,
well, the other thing they learned in California is watch where you're stepping because people use the sidewalks for a toilet. But
San Francisco and LA, but not in the areas that we're talking about here on these two races. These are Northern California races. One's in the Central Valley, the other's in the northern part of the state, outside of your mega cities, LA and San Francisco. So it looks to me like we're going to end up, if we pick up one, it's going to be 221, 214. If we win both of them, it's going to be, 222 to 213. Now, to put that in perspective, Jeffrey, when the last Congress convened, it was 220 Democrat, 215 Republican. So despite the calls that Republicans fared poorly, which, they underperformed, but if we end up at 221, 222, it is not a disaster.
No. It's if they can hold the caucus together. You see, one thing that Pelosi was good at is everybody fell in line and did what she wanted.
That's right.
The way she did that is she raised a lot of money.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted some.
Yeah.
So they all followed her in line. And McCarthy's got to do that.
Well, McCarthy did a damn good job raising money. If you look at under his leadership, we picked up 14 seats in the 2020 election. Looks like we're going to be picking up 9, 10 in this one, 11. So, you're up about.
He said he's having meetings about the border on the border, so that the Democrats will have to come to the hearings at the border.
That's a positive step. It's interesting you mentioned. I'm going to come back to that point in just a second, but. I don't know why our side is hell-bent intent. I get they want to get some concessions. I understand that. But to come out and say you're not going to vote for the guy who just helped you secure Congress. I mean, look, I'm a conservative Republican, but some of these right-wingers on our party I mean, enough is enough. After you win the House, which they've done, they need to fall in line behind McCarthy. Yeah, you can extract some of your promises. I get all that. But at the end of the day, McCarthy should be the Speaker of the House. He's well equipped, has the experience, has the knowledge, and I think he's got the leadership qualities to guide us through. I don't want to see it, an internal fight from the far right wing of our party creating a problem here.
Well, I mean, that's what the Republicans are famous for, circular firing squads.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's true, more than the Democrats. Back on your point about the border, here we are post-election, and none other than Senator Kelly of Arizona has come out and said the Biden administration and our Democratic Party doesn't understand what we're going through down here at the border. I mean,
because he feels he's not strong and can't fight back.
Well, he's already won. He's got 6-year term in the bag now. So I mean, I think he's basically saying I'm free to speak whatever I want right now. We need some help down here, federal assistance in Arizona, because clearly the Democratic Party, they don't give a damn what's going on at the border for some inexplicable reason. But Kelly, to his credit, I guess, has teed up the issue to the Biden administration.
That's right.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he has Texas and Florida after him for the same reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
but you notice California doesn't have anything, and that's a border. Well, we're all border states now, but that's a strong border state.
The border of California, Mexico is relatively secure compared to Arizona and Texas. I mean, it just is. So I don't know. I mean, the real problem, ground zero is Texas, followed by Arizona. Somehow New Mexico escapes. I don't know how, but
have you ever been to New Mexico?
No, I never have. No.
So the illegals don't want to go there either.
No, they don't. For some reason, they want to go to Arizona and Texas. It must be, Texas is obvious. You cross the river and you get in. But anyhow, it is interesting that came up post-election. Speaking of elections, Jeffrey, we've got one coming up December 6th in Georgia. And I'm really hesitant to basically talk about any polling after the last election, because some polls were right, some were way off. But in an AARP poll that tends to lean left, Warnock's up on Walker 51-47. That's within the margin of error. But here's the concerning thing. Warnock's getting 88% of the black vote, Democrat. He's getting 61% of the 18 to 49-year-olds and 54% of independents. That almost mirrors what the election was like, in Georgia on election day. Voters over the age of 49 are going heavily to Herschel Walker. What's your take on that race now, Jeffrey? Can Walker win that race?
I don't know, but he's not talking. He's being too polite. Okay, we're talking about someone who's trashed the cops, who's trashed the country. I mean, he should be publishing some of that stuff. I mean, Georgians are patriotic also, and he's not using any of that. I mean that's made for him to use.
Well, I think I agree with you, but I think this election's all going to be about turnout. Which side turns out their voters?
Well, that's what that's what these kind of elections are.
Yeah, especially in the runoffs here. I mean, it's very close. I mean, Warnock beat Walker by a point, in the regular election. You're not going to have the Libertarian candidate. If the independents break 54 to 46, it's going to be a problem. Walker needs to try to shore that up a little bit. So we'll see. I mean, if the race is open, it can go either way. Again, it's only one poll, so I don't want to read too much into it.
They got some time.
Yeah, we do have some time on that. I figured you could add some good humor to this next story. What'd you make of Oregon's governor? She pardoned 45,000 people that had marijuana convictions.
Well, it makes sense. No, it really does.
Yeah.
Was it a year ago where they made legal that you can have small doses of heroin and coke and meth? So why not, free all the potheads?
I don't know what you're referring to about legalized.
Oh, really? I forgot what the law was, but I actually I took it out so I could. Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, she basically pardoned. There were 45,000 people that had marijuana convictions. I guess everything from based on the old laws. So I don't. To me, it's Oregon. They elected a leftist governor. It's something I would sort of expect. On national implications, I don't know that it has it been.
In 2020, okay, they passed a law called Measure 110.
This is in the state of Oregon.
Right. And 59% of Oregonians voted yes. And figured overdose doses soared by 700 points, by 700%. Now, it didn't take effect until 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But small doses of heroin, small doses of coke, small doses of crack, they won't arrest you for.
Well, that doesn't shock me in the state of Oregon. Oregon's a pretty blue state. They just reelected that governor. They got 2 Democratic senators. It's a blue state. So this is no shock. I mean, this is going to happen in other places around the country that have Democratic governors. And with the changes in society and some of these laws changing related to marijuana, no surprise here at all.
Can you imagine how that though compares to Bloomberg? Oregon, you can have cocaine. In New York, you can have a big soda.
Oh, New York!
You know what I did his last day of office? I went to Gracie Mansion, sat on the benches across the way, had a giant soda and some pizza for lunch with a lot of salt, just to show him I'm in office, he's not.
Yeah. Well, they do some strange things there in your home state in New York City, Jeffrey. So, they're going to have to live with that. One final polling piece, post-election here, we're 3 weeks out since the election. Biden's sitting here, according to that same Emerson poll, different polling group, 39% approval, 53% disapproval. Despite all that, most Democrats still want him to run for re-election. He's 80 years old now. Do you think the president's going to run for re-election?
I don't think his age has anything to do with it, but to me, it's whether or not he's doing a good job. And my vote is no.
Of course, your vote's no, and most Republicans, 94% of Republicans no, but unfortunately, his Democratic approval rating is upwards near 90% right now.
Well, I don't think that he's going to, I don't think they're going to let him run for re-election. Okay, I'm talking about the party elite.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're going to let him because they would have done even better in midterms if they had a different president.
Well, I've got to push back a little bit there. Hypothetical. I mean, you can only have one at a time. I still think he's probably going to be their nominee. I just think that they're going to misread some of the things that happened in this 2022 midterms. I think that if at the end of the day, if it's Joe Biden against anyone other than Trump, I think the Republicans stand a very good chance that they can win in 2024. But bear in mind, and we've talked about this, people say, well, it's a national election. No, it's not. The 2024 election is coming down to 8 states. I'm going to keep pounding it into everybody over and over and over again. We have to have a candidate who can win the majority of Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, and maybe throw in North Carolina.
I'll add 2 because they're kind of red now, but they haven't been red for long. Ohio and Florida.
Those are locked, guaranteed red states in the 2024 election by a mile.
So is Georgia.
No. Georgia voted last time they voted for Biden. Okay, the last time in Florida, it took Barack Obama to be on the ballot for a Democrat to win Florida. So no. With the advantage and the coalition being built in Florida right now, there's virtually no chance a Democrat can compete there on a statewide basis. And after we saw what happened to J.D. Vance in Ohio winning there, I'm viewing Ohio and Florida. I'm looking at this. I'm saying, okay, of your big states, Texas, Florida, Ohio, those are solid Republicans. There's not a snowball's chance Democrats are going to win those states. I'm looking
at California are solid the other way.
I'm looking at California, Illinois, New York, solidly blue.
Right.
I mean, we made great gains with Lee Zeldin, but Lee Zeldin's not going to be on the ballot again in 2024. So, okay, so you have that all set. And the other states, I mean, let's call it what it is. I mean, some states are solid red, some are solid blue. And again, we have 50 states, unless you're Joe Biden, we have 57. No, we really have 50 states. 43 of them they're not competitive. I'm not trying to be facetious, but what's the chance a Democrat's going to win Alabama? Zero.
But that's what I kind of tell people, but a different way. We don't have a national election.
No.
We have 50 state elections.
That's right. And the only ones that really going to count are going to be 7 of them. Look, okay, maybe I can throw New Hampshire in there and make it 8 because New Hampshire's relatively close. Okay, but if I pick, what's the chance we're going to win Rhode Island? 0. What about Connecticut?
Don't we have that one seat in Rhode Island that we always get?
No. No, we don't.
What's the one that has 2 and 1?
You're thinking in the state of Nebraska,
Okay.
they split their votes based upon the electoral votes based upon the votes, and in Maine they do it that way too. So again, for the most part, yeah, Nebraska could come into play because one of those districts, they can get one Democratic elector out of there. But again, generally speaking, this race boils down to 7 states. And if I count New Hampshire, which is really, really a stretch, it comes down to 8 states. The other 42, I mean, it's going to be solid. When I say solid, it's going to be a 5-point win minimum for either the red or the blue. So, I mean, I'm not trying to be a downer on this. It is what it is.
I think the Republicans are going to win the Senate seat in 24.
Well, maybe.
Because, the one we have is an idiot. And Zeldin's got to run. He needs something to run. And the way he ran last time, I think he'd be a great senator.
Yeah, but again, that's an uphill push. He starts, if he runs against Gillibrand, that's who you're talking about. I mean, is she up in 24?
Yep.
Oh, she is? Okay. All right, so maybe. But
all he has to do is use 4 words with 4 letters or more. Because she couldn't spell cat if you spotted the C.
She's terrible. But again, I'm going back to my point here. What's the chance a Republican's going to win Washington State? Not likely.
Nope.
What's the chance a Democrat's going to win Wyoming? Not likely. I mean, I'm using extreme examples, but the point is, the way our politics is, 7 or 8 states, that's what the election will be about. Anyhow, let me move on to a couple other pieces here, and then I've got a little treat for our audience. Nothing out of Moscow, Idaho yet, Jeffrey, on that horrendous murder. I mean, what's going on up in Moscow right now?
It's really disgusting. I mean, that this can happen, things like that. And the real weird thing is that these are the people who say, we have too many cops. Let's turn them into psychologists. That was a horrible massacre.
Yeah, really bad, sad story. And I hope they catch the perpetrator up there. We have a frequent guest on Schaftlein Report, Andrew Krapushides, that he runs his business out of Moscow, Idaho. Great guy, has a company called Red Balloon. We'll be speaking to him next week. Hopefully we can get some additional feedback on it. The other thing, not to shift away from a horrific crime to another bad crime, although no one's been killed in it, the FTX scandal on crypto continues to grow. Jeffrey, what a debacle this thing is turning into. It's affecting the entire crypto industry. My point is good riddance to it.
Well, my first thing is, and I know I shouldn't be saying this, I look at the guy and say, would I give him $1?
Never.
Okay, he doesn't look like someone who's a business person.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, suit and tie every once in a while. The other thing is that I'm not a big fan of crypto. It's like I said to you before. If I had a quarter in my hand, it would be worth more than one of those crypto coins because my quarter's backed up by the government.
Right. Yeah, understood. And look, this
It
is going
was
to
$3 billion.
this is going to continue to unravel. And at the end of the day, my guess is that this is a bigger fraud than Enron. It was a Ponzi scheme from the get-go. They created fake tokens, sold them, leveraged them. I mean, I could get into it, but it would take an entire show to go into it. The point being is we will see Sam Bankman-Fried testifying before Congress. We're likely to see him indicted. This is going to be an ugly mess for a long period of time. Look, people forget Enron case. It took a couple of years to get that thing, finally resolved. So I don't know.
My brother worked for division of Enron at the time, and the boss in Germany, they came into the office one day and found him dead. Now, I'm not saying he was murdered, but
I hear you. I hear you. Well, look, one final thing on politics here. I hope the Republican Party will finally come to its senses and rally around Kevin McCarthy and not have this division that we're dealing with right now. I really hope that happens. And,
well, they reelected Mitch.
Yeah, of course. We said that was going to happen. Not a problem.
Right. But, they're crazies in the Senate, too.
Yeah,
and
but
anybody who said that, they shouldn't reelect him, I just gave him two words: Supreme Court.
Yeah, that's it. The big difference between Mitch's election, he had to get a majority of 49 senators. McCarthy has to get, well, if we're going to have like 220, he's got to get 218 votes. So,
right.
Hopefully at the end of the day, some of these far right wingers come around and come to their senses. But again, I think they will. And my point would be, and it's going to sound sacrilegious, but if you can't get the far right wingers to come and do a deal, cut a deal with Democrats. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying that, but I believe McCarthy's the right guy for the job. And, some of the rules need to be changed. Yeah, I agree. Like, 48 hours to read a bill, pretty common sense to me, but he's the right guy, and I hope Republicans come around. So
John Boehner did something really horrible.
What's that now?
When John Boehner was Speaker, he did something really horrible.
He did a lot of things horrible.
But he posted a picture of him fixing his lawnmower, made every man in the country look bad. Because our wives were saying, hey, he did it. How come you can't?
Oh, I think Boehner's done just fine for himself once he got outside of politics.
Yeah, he's selling pot.
He is selling pot. That's true.
No,
I know he is. He was representing some marijuana companies. I do know that. Okay. All right. As we head towards Thanksgiving here, you're going to be in New York. Ironically, I'm going to be in the Central Valley of California, visiting some relatives. So, you had a nice story you wanted to share with our audience about what it would be like to be a Democrat and have to deal with a woke Thanksgiving. Please share that with us, Jeffrey. It's pretty humorous.
Well, I talk about the history, and we all know the history. Lincoln, made it an official holiday and actually made it in front of Evacuation Day, which was the day that the British finally left the country after the revolution. But the woke people are saying that those trusting red men, women, and children, which is a little racist in itself. They had no idea the hell they would be put through by having dinner with these guys. Okay, and you're thinking about that. What's so bad about having turkey and cranberry sauce?
Can't think of anything bad with that.
I mean, there's nothing evil about that. Thanksgiving is a good holiday, We thankful for everything we have, including being the best country of the world. And we can watch the parade. Of course, I DVR it because I can't get up that early. They just, there's an assistant professor of anthropology in Indiana University. Okay, She talked to students about decolonizing Thanksgiving because pilgrims and Indians is a false narrative. Well, no one calls them Indians anymore.
No, we can't even call the Washington Redskins the Redskins anymore.
Oh,
You know,
on Long Island, where I live, anybody that has an Indian-like name has to change your name by the end of the year, or they lose state funding. Okay, but the teacher who did that, her name is Abby, and she did do well for herself. She got into the movies, and she even had a scene with one of my favorite actors. If you remember Marty Feldman
yeah, sure.
and Young Frankenstein, they had Abby Normal, the brain.
Yeah.
There she was.
Well, for all the people that go ahead.
The only thing bad about Thanksgiving is it's an awful day for Jets fans. Not because they're playing, but because 10 years ago on Thanksgiving, Mark Sanchez fumbled the ball and stuck his head into his lineman's butt. Okay. But you got to understand something. They were in the AFL finals for 2 years in a row. Starting with that game, okay, they only won 61 of the next 170 games.
Yeah. Well, Mark Sanchez has done just fine for himself as an analyst. I think he's over at Fox, and he calls a great game. And he's a prominent USC alumni out here in Southern California, so we'll give him a little pass on that. But yeah, that is interesting. My favorite Thanksgiving moment, honestly, in football, you bring it up, and this goes back a long way, was when the Miami Dolphins were playing the Dallas Cowboys, and Leon Lett. It was a snowy day, and somehow Leon Lett fumbled a ball. He recovered a fumble, fumbled it back, anyhow. It turned out to be a crazy game. And but we'll see 3 football games in the NFL on Thanksgiving Day, which is great.
You hear what they did in Buffalo?
Buffalo's going to be playing on Thanksgiving Day against Detroit.
I know, but they had 6 feet of snow.
Yeah, well, they played in Detroit and they stayed in Detroit, so they're going to have
all the fans went to the home of each Buffalo player and dug out their driveway.
Those Bill fans are insane. They really are crazy. But they got a lot of injuries. So anyhow, folks, enjoy Thanksgiving. Forget all this. Right. Forget all the woke Thanksgiving. Just enjoy it with your family. Enjoy it with your friends. Feast on.
One important thing, Mark.
What's that?
If you have a lot of turkey, you get a lot of that tryptophan. Makes you sleep. So don't drive and don't operate heavy equipment for like an hour.
Well, most of all, enjoy it with your family. Feast on football games. There's some great games in the National Football League. And just enjoy a great American holiday. And we wish everybody the best over the Thanksgiving weekend. A lot of people. Jeffrey, the airports are packed. The roads are packed. People are traveling. Oh, yeah. And this country is on the move. Whatever you want to say about it, it is definitely on the move for Thanksgiving.
Still the best country in the world.
Still the best country in the world, and it's not even a close
second. That just shows how great we are. We can survive Biden and still be the best country in the world.
I'll agree with that. I won't take it a step further. Jeffrey, that's it for today. Parting shot for everybody. You got 30 seconds.
All I can say really is everybody have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. And Tuesday is a big day. It's the 75th anniversary of UN passing the resolution 181, which created Israel.
That's an important accomplishment, particularly for all our Jewish audience out there, for certain.
Well, since then, the UN has hated Israel.
They may have hated it, but I don't know if you caught Netanyahu's argument the other day. He was on Mark Levin's show. Catch it if you can, but Netanyahu's main point was stop Iran from a nuclear weapon, continue to build peace with Saudi Arabia and the other Middle Eastern countries, and expand the Israeli economy. Those are 3 noteworthy goals, and I think that he has a chance to achieve all 3 of those.
If Trump was reelected, Saudi would be in the Abraham Accords by now.
That's true. All right, folks. That's it for today, Jeffrey. Thank you for joining me today.
Have a wonderful holiday.
Yeah, I will be back tomorrow, pre-Thanksgiving. We'll give some football picks, and we will, as always, cut through any Democratic propaganda, and we want everybody to celebrate on Thursday a great American holiday. Jeffrey, see you next week sometime.
See you next week.
Okay.
Everybody have a good one.
See you tomorrow, folks.